In the annals of Gangland history there was no shortage of brothers in arms. The underworld was rife with them. Unfortunately for the mothers, this could result in losing 2 sons to gangster guns. For some, even more. This was the case for Frances Fabrizio, who ended up burying 3 of her boys. The first brother to fall was Louis. Gangland moniker, Louis the Wop. According to the press, Louis worked for industrial racketeer Little Augie Organ as a skullcracker who worked the strikes. On May 22, 1928, approximately 8 months after Augie was killed, Louis was on 2nd Street near Avenue B with an associate. They had either pulled over due to a flat tire, or came back to find the car had a flat. Either way, Louis was changing the tire. Just down the street his brother Andrew was approaching when a group of men opened fire. A cab driver stated that he had just let 4 men out of his taxi when they opened fire. Andrew saw his brother drop with fatal bullets to the chest and head. It's possible that this murder was performed by gangster Louis Pretty Amberg, who had a history of killing rivals in that neighborhood and operating from taxis and rented cars. It would be 4 years before Mother Fabrizio had to say goodbye to another son. This time it was Andrew, who witnessed his brother get rubbed out back in 1928. Whereas Pretty Amberg may have played a part in Louis Fabrizio's murder, there is no doubt that he was responsible for the death of Andrew. On August 10, 1932, Amberg was with a crony named Tony Boccia when he murdered a guy. Fearing that he might be next, Boccia fled to New Jersey with the help of his brother Vincent and Andrew Fabrizio. A trap was set where all 3 men could be taken care of. Vincent received a call stating that his brother was in trouble. Boccia, with Fabrizio in tow, went to a garage on the Lower East Side to make some inquiries about his brother. The garage may have been a hangout for the Bug and Meyer mob, headed by Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel. Boccia and Fabrizio were never seen alive again. The following morning, Vincent Boccia's and Andrew Fabrizio's bodies were found sewn up in sacks in an empty lot in Harrison, New Jersey. Both men had been tortured and murdered with ice picks. Vincent's brother Tony was found the same day on a Jersey beach with 2 bullets in the head. According to Vincent Boccia's fiancée, Vince had received a call from Tony saying that he was being held captive in a Newark apartment. And when Vincent and Andrew showed up, they were grabbed. About 3 months later, on November 2nd, Louis Amberg was in court on a felonious assault charge. He was dismissed, but members of the Boccia and Fabrizio families were waiting for him and attacked him as he was leaving. After letting them get their licks in, detectives rearrested Amberg for the murders, but he beat the rap. A week later, on November 10th, there was an explosion at the Hartex Social Club on the Lower East Side which injured up to a dozen or so members, who were playing cards at the time. Supposedly, the club was the headquarters for the Bug and Meyer mob, and Bugsy Siegel was one of those who was injured. Dean Jennings, author of We Only Kill Each Other. The Life and Bad Times of Bugsy Siegel, tells us that the bomb was planted by Frances Fabrizio. If so, it was probably in retaliation for the death of his brother Andrew. It should be noted that the day after the press reported that the club was destroyed by a bomb, there was a follow-up tidbit stating that the actual cause of the explosion was overheated radiators. Francis, or Frank as he was called, was the oldest of the Fabrizio brothers by a number of years. Whereas Louis was born circa 1904 and Andrew a few years later, Frank came into the world around 1892, and was well into a criminal career when his younger siblings chose a path of crime as well. Frank's record dated back to 1907 when he was sent away to Elmira for burglary. Over the years he also did 2 stints in Sing Sing. It was also stated that he worked for Brooklyn mob boss Frankie Yale. Sometime after the murder of Andrew, Frank decided to write a tell-all book about the New York underworld. In a letter to a lawyer, he promised that his manuscript would clear up high-profile murders like that of Fanny Higgins, as well as blow the lid off of the Underworld 400, the most powerful gangsters across the country. He ended his letter with a cryptic note: "In conclusion, I don't mind telling you that the 400 voted a large sum of money to get me dead or alive." On November 20th, 1932, Frank sat in his parents' apartment with his remaining siblings working on his manuscript with the lawyer who agreed to help get his book published. The family had just finished dinner when there was a knock at the door. Frank's father answered it. It was 4 detectives asking to speak to his son. Frank was called and agreed to go into the hall where the old folks wouldn't hear. Once they had him in the hall, the detectives opened fire on Frank, killing him. Hearing the shots, the family ran out and found the 3rd Fabrizio brother slain in 4 years, the 2nd in 3 months, on the floor, and the faux detectives running out of the building. Frank's death was chalked up to gangsters who learned that he was writing a tell-all book. Later the murder would be attributed to Bugsy Siegel as retribution for the November 10th bombing of the Bug and Meyer headquarters. Pretty Amberg, Bugsy Siegel, and Meyer Lansky were quickly named as the top suspects, but nothing ever came of the investigation. Just like his brothers Louis and Andrew before him, Frances Fabrizio's murder remains, technically anyways, unsolved. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subscribing. For more on New York City gangsters bumped off during the Prohibition era, please check out these books available on Amazon.